Okay, well, welcome. This is the City of Bandera Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. This is 511 Main Street in Bandera, Texas, Thursday, May 12, 2022, 6 p.m. We have several items to discuss here and open to the public. So let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we can we just stand and say the pledge, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just by way of introduction, if y'all wouldn't mind, if we could just briefly, just state your name so that everybody would know who you are, and if you want to start, Jared.
Jared Wilcox. Chair.
Mike Barnett.
Elaine Good.
Patricia Moore.
All right, and so the discussion today is about two properties. We'll take each one of them separately. The first one, and I'm just going to read it in its entirety, is the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing for the purpose of hearing comments on a request to change the zoning classification from P3 neighborhood to CS civic space located at 315 6th Street. So that's the first part of the hearing. The second part will be the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing for the purpose of hearing comments on a request to change the zoning classification from P3 to P4 located at 315 10th Street. So we'll take each one of those in two separate blocks. As far as the public portion goes, anybody is free to speak. It's a chance for anyone with property adjacent, any members of the community, and in general to have their views known about how they feel about how these changes would potentially impact them, whether they're in support of them or not in support of them. It's a chance just for all of us to understand what your concerns might be. So having said that, with respect to this first property, is there anyone that would like to speak?
That's the church property.
Yes, so maybe me first. I'm Father Frank Kujaj, K-U-R-Z-A-J, and the pastor of St. Stanislav Catholic Church over here in Bandera. The church is already there since 1852, 54 really, and we have on the other side on the property, we have the school. This is 100 years old, and now we want to add another property to this place. On this place, if you remember the area behind the school, we want to put a new civic center or bigger community center, and in order to do this we have to remove certain places or certain activities from this place we have right now to another place. So we purchased the property for $165,000 to move a group of people, volunteers who are taking care of the poor and the needy. We call this St. Vincent de Paul Society. We want to move the activity from this school property to this new area, and in order to do this we have to fix the building. We are doing this right now, and we need a parking space, a parking lot, a parking place for the people who will come for the food and for the pantry to this area. This is why we want to change the zoning. That's the reason. And Bob is over here to maybe he can say something more about the activity. He's the president of the St. Vincent de Paul Society.
Our goal, our mission is to be here for those in need, our sisters and brothers who aren't making it. We have a food pantry, limited hours. We're open Thursdays from 9:30 till 12:30. That is the only time we have any traffic there. We provide electrical assistance, rent assistance, utility, water, whatever it may be, medical. If somebody has a need and we feel it's worthy, we will step up and try to help them.
Understood. Is there anyone else? Ma'am?
Well, I live on 6th and Cedar. The property we're talking about is right over here. Okay? There's a house there that they have already cleaned up, much to my admiration. And we assumed that was going to be where the property was going to put, the church was going to put the planned their home, the food and so forth.
St. Vincent de Paul, yes.
Then there's a large piece of land this way. Will they use all of that as a parking lot?
I
So-
think the feeling is that when the new community center gets built, there will be a need for overflow parking, and that would be,
And where will the new community center be built?
On the church's property,
Over here or
on the
across the
church,
street,
after the school,
facing my house,
on the property on the school, behind the school.
facing my house.
I don't know right away if your house.
My house has the two wagons in the front
okay,
yard.
yes, it would be
It
across the
would be
street
where
from you.
it'd be facing my house.
Yes, that new building.
And how soon will that take place?
When the money is coming. Depends on the
I'm a
money.
Methodist, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Real fast, okay?
Yeah.
So, but that will be where that parking lot will be, so it won't be in my lifetime, right?
We don't know, we hope it is.
No, it won't be. But, in other words, that's the parking lot for that community center that's going to be built
There will be
on the
parking
property in
spaces
front of my
on,
house.
there will be parking at the community center, and then there will be overflow over
Yeah,
here.
because the only time they use that parking lot is on Friday nights generally, when they cook.
Fish fry,
Or
yes,
have the festival, is the only time they use it, or a massive funeral.
yes, up till this
But
point,
it-
yes.
But just to pick up their medical needs or their food, they won't be using that whole square. In other words, it will be concreted over at that time.
No, we're not going to, that area next to the building we are referencing is going to be, at best, probably gravelled. It's not going to be hot topped at this time.
Because the lady who lives right in front of it has left town this morning, wanted me to be sure that it wasn't be a concrete.
No, we don't have the money for this.
I tell you, I'm not giving you the money.
No, we don't want to do this, and this is Texas, so we want to have it as natural as possible,
Okay,
you know.
that's what I was concerned about. I appreciate how they've already cleaned up the drug house. That used to be a drug house there. And I'm glad they cleaned it up and they made it look very pleasant in front. Now, you're gonna take down the little red building?
Yes, that, initially, that little red building is going to be moved behind the existing
Oh,
house
good. I'll help.
while they are constructing the community center. And at that point, when that's completed, that little red building will be sold.
Okay, I'll be back when they can get the community center going, if I'm not dead by then. But I thank you very much for that.
Very well. Thank you for your input. Is there anybody else that has any comments regarding the church
Yes,
property? Yes, sir.
Frank Jareski, I'm the trustee for Mildred Collier, and that's my sister. And I just wanted to voice our opinion that we're in complete support and looking forward to have St. Vincent de Paul as a neighbor next door. We join the property on the backside.
Okay.
And the only thing, I hope probably puts up a little fence, a barricade. Other than that, I'm looking forward to having that in our city. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments too. Is there anyone else that has any comments, questions regarding the property? Okay,
I'll make a motion.
sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to city council,
No, we're in public hearing.
so I can't make a motion.
We'll do that in the meeting.
We'll do that in a few minutes,
Well,
Jared.
depends on who you ask. So we'll save all
You
the
got a
votes.
second portion?
Yes,
Okay.
it's at 6:30. So we'll have a second portion to this. The only thing I'd ask you stated that it was gonna be a non-asphalt type structure.
We don't
Hey,
have
surface.
plans to do this.
Yeah, okay. I think that's it. So, does anyone up here have any comments or questions that they would like to ask anyone that has spoken or has not spoken?
It's a
Mike-
great addition, I think.
My comment is the direction with the downsize of the population that's happened in town, from the 2010 census to the 2020 census. I think the more community centers, the more churches, the more family-friendly stuff, the more appealing we are to bring people back in and start building that population back up. So,
To have that infrastructure. Okay.
makes it appealing to young families to,
Yeah, and potentially walking and so forth. Okay, very well. So, as it relates to the church's newly acquired property, we'll stop discussion at this point, if anyone has anything else to say. All right, so let's move on to Part B, and this is for the request of a change of classification from P3 to P4. There is a copy of that in our packet. Don't guess that that's available.
page 9 is their application.
But the application, the gentleman who's requesting this is not here. His name is Stephen Malone, and his request is to change it from P3 to P4. He has a project description letter that's been included. So, without taking up any further time, is there anyone specifically here that would like to make any comments regarding this property?
We didn't get a copy of the project description with our letter. Can you
wanna read it?
briefly?
Yeah,
I can read it.
Yeah, can you read it, just read it out loud? And then also, if you can read the back page, the additional description that he sent.
So its original request, says, I'm asking for a request to rezone property at 315 10th Street from the proposed zone P3 to P4. I'm looking to build a small multi-housing development so more homeowners can have real property, possibly something similar to what the mansion is proposing within the city limits of Bandera. I am willing to follow all Simple City design recommendations to make the homes not only appealing, but blend in with the Bandera Hill Country Cowboy Capital of the World look. The property is 1 block behind 11th Street Cowboy Bar and will be a nice addition for locals and tourists. The entire block on the other side of the street is proposed zone 4. Thank you for your consideration. And then he, on May 4th, sent in an additional letter about his request that states, I am requesting a rezoning to zone 4 residential and commercial. My plan is to put as many units as allowed by the new Simple City design within reason, and that the units are aesthetically pleasing as well. The .413 of an acre lot should allow for at least 3 and as many as 6 depending on setbacks and boundaries. I'm trying to do a small scale of what the mansion is proposing. My plan is to hire a designer to utilize the lot space in a pleasing ergonomic manner. I plan on borrowing the money from a local bank for financing along with some of my money to have a vested interest in how the properties turn out to make them a part of the city. The reason I am looking for zone 4 status is so that I can retain one of the units for myself, and all of the other units will be long-term rental or be sold as family dwellings. The other units will not be able to be used as B&Bs due to the high cost of new construction. That would not economically pay for themselves. I want to use the one unit myself that will be the one on the corner of Cedar and 10th for me and my family when big events are happening in Bandera. This is only 2 blocks off Main Street and 1 block behind 11th Street. During the slow times, I would like to have the option to rent the one unit out to defray the cost of ownership. This would bring a small amount of tourism dollars when I'm not using it, but not the whole tract. Thus the request for commercial status. Each of the units will be about 1,400 to 1,800 square feet. They each will have an enclosed or covered parking. I will ensure that they have a design that blends well and have a timeless look so they can age gracefully with the city of Bandera. I currently live in Bandera River Ranch. I may possibly move into the unit one day myself, but I do not see doing that in the foreseeable future. Thank you for your consideration, Stephen Malone.
Question, what was the size of the lot that he's?
.413 of an acre.
So that was the information we were given. So again, does anybody have any comments regarding this property?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, could you just tell us your name too?
I am-
Your
I'm
state?
Lynn.
Okay.
I'm Gail Stone, and we own a property like 2 down, like we're in the neighborhood, one of our properties. And that sounds like a great little project, but I think probably when the master plan this time and the master plan before this time, they probably, I'm thinking, took into consideration that there would be places for multifamily or denser areas. And I notice on this map, I wish I had this at my office, that the core, all of this blue is core, and all of this kind of not quite blue or turquoise is mixed already. And when you stand back and look at it, it's like 40% of the town, maybe, visually. So I'm thinking that with all the effort and time and everything that went into the master plan and to develop this zoning and to allow for different usages, if they wanted that to be in with a residential area, they would have done it. And if we go to all the trouble to have a master plan and then we change it whenever anybody asks, then why did we do it? So I'm thinking it's just a little denser than what's around it and would affect the neighborhood. And it is a neighborhood. If you drive through there, there's houses that are 70, 80, 90 years old and well kept and maintained, and families have lived there a long time. And I'm thinking that we already have places that are zoned for that project. So I'm hoping that, I was reminded today that the theme of the master plan was keep Bandera, Bandera. And so if the planning and zoning and the city council are inclined to do that, I would totally support you in that. Letting things kind of grow as they need to, but also not infringe on the people that are already living here. So.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Peggy Lloyd. I didn't put my name to speak, but I was just thinking, he said it's less than half an acre, yet he would put 6 permanent dwellings on it. I don't know how you could do that.
You said that's right.
You wouldn't do that.
With carports sitting on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so just, again, just, when as it relates to the zoning, so if we were to change zoning, it would change the zoning for the property. What happens after the zoning is done is up to the individual owner of the property. So they can sell it, they can do anything that they want. So you have a valid concern that, how is this feasibly, possible to start with? But in the end, the zoning is just gonna change, and then it's up to that landholder how they intend to actually carry out that. Does that make sense? I mean, but I agree. I mean, it sounds like it would be difficult. Yes, Ms. Stone?
Did y'all receive letters from people that weren't able to attend tonight about the 10th Street zoning?
There were no letters that I was aware of.
No letters were sent, I got one phone call.
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Montgomery, I have a friend who lives on that corner, and she received no letter about that at all, because she would have told me to come tonight. She's already had to deal with that old house that was there for years before they ever tore it down. There's no way you could put all those properties on there and have a nice apartment or a rental or anything. We built homes in town, you cannot do that in that little space. That's just totally impossible.
That's fair.
So
Yes, sir.
here's my big concern with this is, he says that he intends to do a possibility of both long-term rental and sale. To me, the proximity to 11th Street Bar and the amazing events that they put on with Mardi Gras and things like that, that looks like too much of a temptation to investors to buy one or more of those properties, turn them into Airbnbs, which we're already having an issue with the intent purpose of maximizing the dollar right there with proximity to 11th Street Bar. And I don't see any way, he says his intent is not to Airbnb them, but once he sells them,
Right.
there's no,
That's fair enough, and thank you, and certainly if y'all have comments. I
Well,
mean,
my
this is open.
comment is one of the overriding things, because I went to all of the Simple City, or almost all of the Simple City presentations and work-throughs on this. What he's proposing, you can build on, you need to keep 40% of the land space of your lot open, so that it's it's just like the
permeable access.
permeable access. There's no way he can accomplish that. And he may not really have read this that closely, because he does say short-term but long-term rentals, so they'd be more than a month. So he's catering potentially to that winter Texan audience, because that takes it out of short-term rental
Right,
as a definition.
yes, yeah, good point, thank you.
And the only thing I said, if we start changing zonings, then once you do it once, everybody's gonna want it to be rezoned so they can make it Airbnbs
Well,
and
we've
put
got,
multiple homes in.
we've got the line set. It's one thing to change from a place type to a CS that strengthens the community. It's another thing to change to, from one place type, upgrading it to a higher place type. And then in 3 months after that project's finished, the person who owns the lot next door goes, I'm gonna sell this to a developer who's gonna come in and say,
Right.
I wanna do that. Before you know it, all of the place type 3 is now place type 5.
Right. Any other comments or concerns from anyone?
Just that, our letter was incorrect. As far as identifying the owner of the property in question, so.
Was it the address or
It
the
was
owner
the
itself?
owner.
There was a typo on the letter that was sent out
Okay.
to the property owners for the second property,
Yes, okay,
but it was posted correctly in the paper, so it's, okay.
okay. What, just for clarification, what owner was it?
The
Depicted in
second
the
property, it says, the church, instead of the property owner's name,
Stephen Malone.
Stephen Malone, yeah.
So we should just be aware that from our standpoint too, that some people, some individuals may not have come because they may have believed that the church was the one that would be buying the property. Is that fair to say from the letter
Yes.
that went out? Okay, so it's possible that someone didn't show up because they felt that way. We don't know. Okay. All right.
And again, tonight is a public hearing for planning and zoning, so they'll make a recommendation to city council. Next Tuesday at 5:30, we'll have a second public hearing that will be in front of city council. And then city council will, review their recommendation and then vote based on or maybe off of their recommendation, so. That's next Tuesday at 5:30.
And
Very
they'll
well.
vote
Thank
on
you. Thank
Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. It's on the agenda following at 6 o'clock.
Thank you for clarifying that process. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns? If so, we'll bring this public hearing to a close, and then following this will be our regularly scheduled planning and zoning committee.
That's
Adjourned.
6 minutes.
6 minutes.